Give him a book to read.
Which book?
That's Chumash.
Oh, here, take this one. Okay, today is Chaf Beis Sivan, Hatavshin Ein, or the Chaf Beis Sivan, Hatavshin Ein. This is a shir, Parshas Klali shir in the Sidra of the week, Parshas Shlach.
Where's the Israeli boy? What's his name?
Orion.
Orion.
Yeah, what I'm saying. Right. So we're turning this week's Parsha Shlach, Midbar Yud Gimel, to Pasuk Tes Zayin. And that's after Moshe Rabbeinu's already specified, or it's been clarified, who are the Anoshim that are going to be sent to Eretz Yisrael to survey Eretz Yisrael prior to the military entrance of Eretz Yisrael, of the Yidden into Eretz Yisrael. And the Pasuk mentions in some detail what are their names. It tells us the names of the people who have been chosen, but again to the tribe from which they came. And then at the end, of having told all their names, that's written, Vayikro Moshe lo Hoshea bin Nun Yehoshua. That Moshe, he called Hoshea bin Nun Yehoshua. Now, Hoshea bin Nun's been mentioned a number of times up to now. He was, particularly in last week's Parsha, Ba'aloscho, after the choosing of the Shivim Zakanim, it's told that Yoshua, he was Moshe Rabbeinu's, literally, as we just mentioned a minute ago, he was Moshe Rabbeinu's literally boy, his nar. He was there all the time in the tent of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he was Moshe Rabbeinu's trusted servant, and he's trusted Meshores, as brought down by Matan Torah, also that it's written that Moshe went up onto the mountain, Hu Meshorsei Hoshea bin Nun. He went with Hoshea bin Nun. So eventually Yeshua takes over the whole leadership of the Jewish people, and he's the one that brings them into Eretz Yisrael. So at this particular point where he's chosen to be one of the, I don't want to call them spies, but surveyors of the Eretz Yisrael. So after having mentioned that he was going to be sent as one of the representatives for the tribes of Yosef, it's written, Vayikro Moshe lo Hoshea bin Nun Yehoshua, that he calls him Yehoshua. So Rashi says, Vayikra Moshe lo Hoshea bin Nun Yehoshua, she's palel alov, he prayed for him, Yud Kei Ko, that's the way of referring to the Eibishter, Yoshiacho, he should save you, me'atzas meraglim, he should save you from the, literally the eight, how would you call it, the idea and the aim, as a word, is the inner spiritual aim of the meraglim. Eight means like advice, literally. From the shitta, as you might call it, the method, the methodology of the meraglim. So the fact that Rashi mentions only the first two letters of Hashem's name, Yud K, Yoshiachim Me'atzis Meraglim. So we see that the Iker coloration in Yeshua's name is the addition of the Yud at the beginning. As he's called Hoshaya, now he becomes Yehoshua. So the Iker is the adding of the Yud. However, once you add the Yud, then you get the first two letters of the Shem Havaya, Yud K. He said the Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for Yeshua that the Eibishter, how he is Yud K Bilvad. Well, that's a very high Madrega Derech, brought down in Siddur, but that's Chochma Ubina, that's very high Madrega in the Shem Havaya. That Ko Yoshiacho, that the Eibishter, how he's in that level of Ko, he should save you from the Atzos Amarakli. And I never asked myself the Shaila that if Moshe Rabbeinu was going to pray for somebody, he should have prayed for all of them. Why did he pray only for Hoshea bin Nun? And if Moshe Rabbeinu knew that there was such a thing as a Atzos Meraglim, that there was only a Eitzah. Listen, boy, you must get used to coming on time.
Yeah, I thought
You must come on time.
he was upstairs.
Oh, you're upstairs. I see. You didn't know there was a class.
Yeah, I didn't see.
You didn't think. Well, that's not good. If you didn't think, you said it.
Come on.
So if they already had an Eitzah, the Meraglim, Atzos Meraglim, and Moshe Rabbeinu knew about it, and he said, I want to pray for Yeshua that he should be saved from it, then Moshe Rabbeinu knew what was going on. As if he knew what was going on, then why on earth did he allow the Meraglim to go? And the really fascinating thing is that up to now, in the whole passage that we've read up to now, and to a certain extent for the older parsha, we don't really find the word Meraglim, even though everybody calls these people the Meraglim, and it's spoken about a lot of incidents about the Meraglim, but we don't find the expression Meraglim. We just find that Moshe Rabbeinu sent these people to Lasur es Haaretz. Now the word Lasur means almost like a tourist, to sort of go around in Eretz Israel and take a look and bring back reports of certain points that Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned to them. Of the actual terminology of calling them spies, Meraglim, doesn't occur at this part of the parasha, Ochoponim, and barely in the rest of the parasha, even all exactly in that expression. Later on, when Yeshua, in the Haftarah, we read that Yeshua sent these two representatives into Eretz Israel prior to going over the Yarden. They're certain that Yeshua sent them as Meraglim, certain that they were Meraglim. And also we find that Moshe Rabbeinu, right at the end of this particular Chumash, after they conquered Sichain v'Oig, then they wanted to conquer some other territory. So there it's written, Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayishlach Moshe Meraglim. It's written clearly, sent spies, l'ragel es yazer, to spy out on this particular area that they wanted to conquer. Over here we don't find it, so it's one on the Sikha van the Rebbe, the famous biur van the Rebbe, Melech Mashiach, in this particular Dibur of Rashi, that they weren't really meant to be Meraglim in the normal sense. And there's a difference between somebody that goes as a shliach and the whole Jewish people just take a look around and bring back whatever Moshe Rabbeinu says to bring back, and between somebody who sees himself as a spy, because when he's a spy then he's got to get involved in all sorts of calculations and spying out and cunning and all sorts of inyanim of that nature. And therefore, he might fall into thinking things himself or making conclusions that are not necessarily required of him. That if Moshe Rabbeinu saw that they had already in their minds an atzasme, Meraglim. In other words, that they saw themselves as going into Eretz Yisrael to become people like Meraglim. So, and therefore he prayed for Yeshua that he shouldn't fall into that particular inya. Meaning that Moshe Rabbeinu, knowing as he did, Yeshua was his trusted, as we said before, he was his trusted nar, he was his trusted, what you might call, servant and boy, and he was his entrusted chassid, to use the expression, b'chol ha'inyanim, b'chol ha'advarim. And if Moshe Rabbeinu knew that Yeshua wouldn't be in that type of Eitzah at the moment, but who knows what he might fall into under the ashpah of all the others, that they were a large majority. And if Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for him. I wasn't with Kalev. Kalev also saved himself, but Moshe Rabbeinu didn't pray for him. But we see that Kalev prayed for him. So it's written a little bit later in Rashi that he went to Hebron, and Rashi says that Kalev went out of his way to go to the cave of his, how do you call it, the cave of the patriarchs in Hebron, and that the reason he went there was that he prayed that he should be saved from the Atzasama Ragnar. I think Frank Rashi managed that lotion a little bit later on, but again to Kalev. So how do you call it? Kalev was a very independent person. To use the expression, that he decided he would pray for him, he would pray for himself. But Ilu Yeshua, he was West days so bottled to Moshe Rabbeinu, so anxious to be only Makusha with Moshe Rabbeinu, that he asked Moshe Rabbeinu, how do you say, to use the expression, he gave the Rebbe a pidyon, and he gave him the Rebbe a pidyon. And therefore the Rebbe was Moyer Rachamim Rabbim B'Shviloi. The nusach, the opinion in the old days when people used to write a pidyon to the Rebbe, they used to write Ono Lo Era Rachamim Rabbim, and so on. But now it comes out that you ask the Rebbe to pray for you, as it were. Anyway, we see that Moshe Rabbeinu, despite the fact that he knew that something was coming off, it's hard to say he didn't realize anything was going on, because he realized that they were likely to change the Ikea Kavanah that he had in mind. Why did he send them? Strange. And so the Rebbe says over there in that Sikha that Moshe Rabbeinu realized that at the moment it was only an idea in their minds. It wasn't necessarily a reality. They had made it clear that that's what they really meant. But nonetheless, a chashash was there. He prayed for Yeshua that he shouldn't fall into that pitfall. And Kalev was sufficient of great insight. He prayed for himself, to use the expression. So, but it's a strange thing that Moshe Rabbeinu did seem to sense and to feel that something suspicious or not 100% trustworthy was occurring within the minds and the makeup of the Meraglim. Also, the Shaila came. Why would he send them? And particularly, if we look at the beginning of the parasha, that the Eibishter said to Moshe, Shlach Lecho. Anashim, Rashi says that the Eibishter said to Moshe, do it according to your opinion. Shlach Lecho, L'daitcho. I told you that everything's fine. I don't need anybody to go in there. That's what the Eibishter said. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu decided that he would do like the people wanted of him. Didn't he? But I trusted that that's some sort of powerful coffee to keep you in good shape. In that case, B'deichak will make a heter. I don't know what sort of hechsher the coffee has, but at least to drink it, probably the same hechsher that we all drink. Anyway, whatever, that Moshe Rabbeinu also was going somewhat according to the what you might call the needs of the people that they wanted, and he brings the whole story, which is really written in Sefer Devarim. Everybody came and they all put a lot of pressure that there should be the sending of the Meraglim, and it seems that Moshe Rabbeinu accepted that pressure, even though if the Avisha said that, look, you don't really need it, I've already told you everything that you need to know. And somehow or another, Moshe Rabbeinu must have been overlooking something that he himself really would have liked to hold to, but nonetheless he felt that he had to, in some way, in inverted commas, give in, as they say in Yiddish, noch geben. He had to sort of, some way or another, go after these people and give in and accept the whole idea. And therefore, he even felt it in the Meraglim, and he prayed for Yohai, Shua, and Kolev, being as he was from the royal families, you might say, he was from Shevet Yehuda, but they're kingly people. As Kolev, he was able to feel a sense on his own that he has to go to the Maras HaMakpelah, he has to go to the Kivrei Ovis and pray. So we're going to mention briefly some approaches to this on the part of Sforim Kedoshim, and then we'll see how Chassidus Chabad looks at this whole thing and how we can see it, what you might call in Aveda Lapoyo, Negel as Maneno, and that is that I saw in a sefer called Avedis Avram, it's called, by he was actually shayach to the followers of Reb Mendele Vitebska. And he lived in Eretz Yisrael, and Reb Mendele Vitebska was the great Rebbe and Chaver of the Alter Rebbe after the passing in the Magid, and he came to live in Tveria, and I think you guys may be a little bit familiar with the name of Reb Mendele Vitebska, and he set up his center ultimately in Tveria. And it's well known, the whole story, Bekesha to his coming into Eretz Yisrael, his Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, 300 Chassidim, Chassidish Mishpachas, at the time, shortly after the Istalfus of the Magid. Also upon him, it's written in this Sefer, and he brings down a Maimah Chazal from Masechta Bava Basra. We'll just take a brief look at, and that is that the Gemara says, in Bava Basra, in Daf Ayin Hey, Omid Aleph. Oh. And it's written over there that Liosid Love, when Mashiach will come, and there'll be the standing up of the, how do you call it, the Tchias HaMeisim, that every tzaddik will have his own, or every person who's been, in the gather of a tzaddik, he will have his own chuppah. Hashem will make him a special canopy, like a chuppah, all of his own. And it won't be the same chuppah as Chaveri, another tzaddik, which made also an effort to serve Hashem with all of his capacity. So then it's written that each chuppah will have fire and smoke. That the chuppahs will be, literally burning, and they'll have smoke. So the Gemara says, why would that be the case? The Gemara says that in order to literally, somebody who didn't like looking at Talmidei Chachamim, and he didn't like helping them, and he didn't like assisting and accepting the opinion of Talmidei Chachamim, then their chuppahs will give off smoke into his eyes. After Tchias HaMeisim, he'll all the time being not able to see clearly, just like he couldn't see clearly in this world because he wouldn't go according to the Talmidei Chacham. However, the Gemara says, okay, that's the smoke. Or what about the fire? So there's a Gemara that each tzaddik is going to be burnt literally from the chuppahs Chaveri. That if one tzaddik would like to go out of his chuppah and enter the other tzaddik's chuppah and have a shmuz with him and to return or something of that nature, then the fire is going to burn him away, and each one will be literally burnt away from the chuppah of his friend. It's a famous thing brought down in Chassidus called tzaddik v'tzaddik nichve michupase shel chaver. Each one's going to be burnt away from the chuppah of his chaver. And so says Omru Zakenim Shaboisa Dur, or the Zakenim who were there. They heard that and they said, "Oi lo isa busha, oi lo isa klima." What a terrible shame and what a terrible disgrace. Well, that will be. So nobody quite understands why is it a disgrace that one tzaddik won't be able to answer or go into the chuppah of his friend. Then says the Gemara, similar do we find that when Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Hashem to put his splendor on Yeshua, it's written that he should put from his splendor on Yeshua, but not all of it. Nosata mehoidcha olav. Says the Gemara, mehoidcha v'loy kol hoidcha. From your splendor, but not all of it. So therefore, says the Gemara, that people said that from that we can understand that Pnei Moshe k'Pnei Chamor. The face of Moshe Rabbeinu was like the sun, and the Pnei Yeshua is k'Pnei Levana. The face of Yeshua is like the moon. And the Gemara says, Oy lo lo eisa busha, oy lo eisa klima. The same thing. It says, Oy, what a shame. And what a disgrace that is. So everybody said, what sort of a disgrace? I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu was like the sun and Yeshua was like the moon. I mean, what sort of a busha and what sort of a klima and what sort of disgrace is that? So it comes on the Rashbam on Bava Basra. There's one on Rashi. Rashi stops in Bava Basra way back at the beginning of the second parak, and from then on the Pirush on the so-called usual Pirush on Bava Basra is Rashi. Rashi's ain't called the Rashbam. So the Rashbam says that really, even though Yeshua was a Novi and he was a king of the Jewish people, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, he said nonetheless he wasn't able to reach the Madrega of Moshe Rabbeinu cloud. And he said that's a very high, a very strong Yerida in a short passage of time from one state to the other. Moshe Rabbeinu sounded comparably high, and all of a sudden you go down to Yeshua. So the Gemara says, Oy lo isa busha, oy lo isa klima. It's a disgrace and a shame. So therefore he learns it rather harshly that ain't no chanami. It was a big Yerida from Moshe Rabbeinu to Yeshua. That's the Chama, that's the moon. The moon will give it the sun. It's really not very spectacular. That's the Rashbam. Comes on the Marshua over there, and he says a slightly different idea. He says that the Gemara begins with the whole business of Chuposh Shel Chaverei, Liyosid Love. What's that got to do with it? So he said that people, it's going to be revealed, Liyosid Love, just the greatness of everybody's avodah during the Golus. I mean, the Golus is such a terrible nesoya, it's such an unbelievable state. And generations of Yidden have lived in the Golus. That when it'll come the Yosid Love, and we'll see this unbelievable achievement of certain people that the Avsha gave him, Mamsha, he'll put them around in a chuppah, the Yosid Love, and there'll be fire and all sorts of inyanim. So the Marshal says that those who didn't work and those who didn't make an effort, those who just sit back and enjoyed this world, in other words, that it's a terrible shame for people who didn't manage to get that chuppah, the Yosid Lori. In other words, the Marshal moves it out of the actual passage from one to the other, or the comparison of one to the other, and he says the busha and the klima is for the observers who are not in that league. Those who didn't make it, so they'll be saying, oh, what a terrible shame I didn't make an effort when I had the opportunity. Well, they'll just be full of shame and of disgrace that they didn't make the effort like all the tzaddikim did. So he said the same with Yeshua. The people will see, on the contrary, the greatness of Yeshua, that he got everything from Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu placed his hoid all of it. He couldn't give him everything, because he wasn't on the same madrega as Moshe Rabbeinu. The moon is not the same brightness as the sun. Is a bush for people who are not on that level even of Yeshua. They don't get anything, really. That's how the Mashal. In other words, he moves the bush of a klima into what you might call the outfield, into the observers, of not the actual thing that's happening. The actual thing that's happening is a great thing Yeshua got from Moshe Rabbeinu. So that's how people are mafalpul bein inter. Many other great pirushim in that Indian. Why is it a bush and a klima? The change from Moshe Rabbeinu to Yeshua. So I mean, we can go into that. There's some more very fascinating pshatim and pirushim. This is not the place now to get too involved in that. There comes one in the sefer that I mentioned, and this is a very remarkable and amazing thing. And he says that when Moshe Rabbeinu was in charge of the Jewish people all the time up to when he gave over to Yeshua, and Moshe Rabbeinu was the sun, the Chamo. In other words, the sun is the power that rules over illuminates the whole world, keeps the whole world in its proper temperature, gives us warmth and vitamins and all the that we get from the sun. And if the sun were to be too hot, or if it were to withdraw a little bit, then we'd all freeze, or we'd all fry in pans, or who knows what the heck would happen. So the sun is that's the marker of all the ashpoet, and it's a huge all-enveloping light which just puts everything. And therefore the Gemara says that shraga b'tihara maimahan, if you light up a light in the burning the midday sun, it doesn't have any effect. It's of nothing, because the Ikka is the sun, the light produced by the sun, as it were, just takes into itself all other lights, and it's pointless lighting up any light, except where the sun is somehow or another blocked off. Then you might need a light. So, Lafizeh Kumtais, the Moshe Rabbeinu is a tremendous kloli, which everybody is, as you might say, botel v'niklau in Moshe Rabbeinu. There weren't really any what you might call individual lights apart from Moshe Rabbeinu. He was the Otzum, the kloli, and everybody was niklau into the unbelievable light of Moshe Rabbeinu. I saw in another sefer from the Rav Naftali Rothschild. He was a very great Talmud of the Melech Meligens. He was a Talmud of the Talmudim and the Maggid. He brings down that there's and it's put down in Medrash Tanchuma and also in the Zohar. In the Zohar, it is written clearly that there's one opinion that there was women, or one woman in Mitzrayim, when it's written that the Yidden multiplied many, that she had in one womb, one pregnancy, Shishim Ribui Yidden, 600,000 Yidden. In other words, all the 600,000 of Yidden were all born in one, as it were, birth, as you might say, Bekeris or Berechem Echad. So the Zohar Kodesh says, what does that mean? One woman gave birth at one go to 600,000 neshomes. So the Zohar Kodesh says that means that that was Yocheved, that she gave birth to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu was koilul in himself. He was koilul all the neshomes of the Yidden. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu had in himself, as you've heard in Lubavitch's expression, that he was a neshama klolius, wasn't it? Huh? And you should realize that that's not the way. If you drop your head and allow yourself to go to sleep, well, that's not the way. You have to be able to hear Divrei Torah, and if you listen, it's written at the Rebbe Marash, he used to say amazingly deep mamorim. But he had a lot of people used to come, very simple people, that they came to listen to his mamorim, And they didn't really understand the Hasidus. So every now and then the Rebbe Marash would put in, they said that's why there's a lot of Medrashim. If you ever notice in the Rebbe Marash's Maimon, there's a lot of Medrashim, quotes from Medrash. So I don't know if that's right. I'm just saying, just telling you what Siddim say. That Siddim say that Rebbe Marash used to put in all sorts of little Medrashim in the Maimon every now and then, to keep the simple case that they would be able to follow something of what he's trying to say. And that afterwards, the simple guys would chazer over what they got from the Maimon Chassidus from the Rebbe Marash, and if they put even one or two of those Medrashim together, then they would come out. They realized that they've got a tremendous point from the whole thing, that they would never believed that really was what they got out of it at the time they were listening. At the time they were listening, they just sort of thought they were missing everything. And then when they put together these few Medrashim and they just typed it out for themselves, all of a sudden they realized that they'd understood a huge amount like them, as far as they were concerned. And so therefore you must never just drop your head and slow. You must always pay attention. You're always getting something, and you put something together later, you say, oh yeah, and then you put that together another something. That's the way it goes. Edify is Shishim Ribui B'Keres Echad. It's an amazing thing. Edify says the Zohar Kodesh, when you look it up over there in the Zohar Kodesh says, well, Afogao, the Rabbanan, Ish Rabbanan, the Omri, Achrin, it should know the other great authorities that learned differently this statement. Avushivim Ponim LaTorah. This is not the Zohar Kodesh. 70 facets to each part of the Torah. Our facet in the Zohar Kodesh claims there was Moshe Rabbeinu. He was Shishim Ruvui B'Keres Echad was Moshe Rabbeinu. As I stated in the Zohar, it's a very fascinating thing. Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the whole Shishim Ribui. The whole Shishim Ribui are Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's what Lubavitch claims, that a Rebbe is a neshama klali years. Not that he's a general person, that he bothers about the generality, but he includes in himself the whole generality, and everybody is really part of his neshama. Pink Tazei, we all people that were born somewhere or another, niklau in the neshama and the guf of Adama Arisha. As well known, the Reb Zushia and Anipole with his brother, the Reb Elimelech, that they said that they were in Adam Arishan's nose, that they were called in Adam Arishan in his nose, and therefore they didn't sin and they weren't affected by the Chet Hadas. The Gemara says that the Kusha Reach, the ability to smell, is not affected by the purity of the world. And therefore, from the Arizal said you must be very careful to try and avoid bad smells. You know about it? No. So you guys say, well, what do you go dump us over there in those dorms, and we got these funny smells coming at us from all directions? I'm sorry about that. I don't really. But anyway, you are supposed to avoid as much as possible smelling bad smells. As I bring to the result.
The Israelis smell worse.
Huh?
The Israelis here smell worse.
They smell worse.
Than outdoor.
You mustn't say that.
No, but they...
No, you mustn't say that. That's not nice. I'm sorry. There's a heap of Chavos Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was the lover of all Yidden. The haraya that he prayed for these Meraglim. He didn't say they got a bad smell. Anyway, maybe I misunderstood you. Maybe I didn't hear exactly what you meant to say. Anyway, whatever. It follows, Rafi said, that Moshe Rabbeinu is an unbelievable cloud. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu said, the Torah said in last week's parasha, Moshe Rabbeinu was Onov, Mikol Adom Ashel Pnei Adom. Because the other way around, Moshe Rabbeinu knew that he was just a makeup of all the Yidden. He was their generality. He knew that if it weren't all the Yidden, then he's not really, there's no point of him being there. It's like the cloud with the prat, you understand? The prat can't really be without the cloud. On the other hand, the cloud is only for the sake of the pratim. If the pratim are not necessary, so the klal doesn't need to be there. So Moshe Rabbeinu was batil ad kei kach, that he knew his whole inyan was only to be for all the Yidden. His whole inyan was only to be for all the Yidden. And therefore he never cared about himself, he had nothing. And he was the oyer klali, v'atzmi, that everybody felt that oyer, and they were all batil b'derech mamela. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was tremendously humble. He never saw in another Yid a reason that he should be greater than him for the reason we just pointed out. And on the contrary, Moshe Rabbeinu was ready to learn from every Yid and to pray and put himself into great difficulty for the sake of praying, as we see. In this parsha, he even prayed for the Meraglim. Therefore, it says it goes on, these foreign that I mentioned, and they say that Moshe Rabbeinu is a tremendous power, and it's a tremendous schus to have to do with Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's an unbelievable koyach if you just batel completely like the nair in front of the sun in Moshe Rabbeinu. However, there were certain people who felt that the time, as it were, had come that there should be a revelation of the individual, that the milah of the individual, not just how he's completely batel in Moshe Rabbeinu, not just what you might say that I'm nothing, I'm just part of Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm just kol in the oyer achamo, I don't really have any oyer of my own. If I do, it doesn't shine, it's not worth anything. We're all just kol in the great oyer of Moshe Rabbeinu. At a fair, there were certain people that they had individual ideas, and they said, listen, why can't we also be, and that's exactly what happened with Korach. I mean, it's in next week's parsha, what he's a follow-on from the Meraglim. There's a whole big people in the great proportion. Maybe it was even before the Meraglim or Achvat. The whole big shiloh, who's before who? Of anyway, Korach and the Meraglim have got a very similar line to them. And what did Korach say? Kulam kadoshim, kol kahal, kulam kadoshim. We're all holy. Umadua ubdibo bahem Hashem, and Hashem spoke to all of it. Umadua tisnasu al kahal Hashem. Why are you guys becoming the leaders? We also got what to do, and we also have our perfection. We have, we're big neiras. Why should we all be bottom to the neira aklali? So b'diuk there was the inen, according to these for him, of the Meraglim. And the Meraglim said that each of us has got his own personal inyan and his own immense value and his own tremendous power to bring that value into activity. And why should we be all completely bottom and niklau in the chamo? So, therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, being as he was, made up of all Yidden, and being as he was a good leader, and he desired the teva of everybody, Moshe Rabbeinu said, these guys have got a point, and I'll let them go, and they can be poil, each one, according to his inyan in Eretz Yisrael, because each of the Shvatim, they've got a part of Eretz Yisrael. Let them bring their individual light into the different parts of Eretz Yisrael. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu sort of was a possibility that it could have great. In other words, there's a milah also in the individual. There's a milah in the individual carrying out his particular inyan that he can give, and his particular intense light that he can bring, and what he can affect in the world. And that's what they had in mind, these Meraglim, and the people wanted to send them. That let's see, let's go away and get a more individual makeup of people coming into function and having an effect in the preparation of Eretz Yisrael for the conquering Alidei, the whole Jewish people. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he was ready, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, "En chanami nachon," and he even saw the milah that there could be, legabi, the conquering of Eretz Yisrael, afila, not just the settling, but that inyan that every Yid would show his own particular greatness, However, that doesn't mean that you just become independent of Moshe Rabbeinu. You've got to still stick to the Ikaka Kavana, which only Moshe Rabbeinu can reveal. Only he can tell you what is the Ikaka, what is the Ikaka Kavana. And if Moshe Rabbeinu sensed that there was a possibility here, and a detail and that he called a prat that might lead to improper inyanim. We see here that it begins the Rotze V'Shoy. And if Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for Yeshua, because he saw that Yeshua, there was a very fascinating Targum Yonasan ben Oziel. The Targum Yonasan ben Oziel, he says that Moshe Rabbeinu had chamo Moshe an benosusei de Yeshua. Kora Moshe le Yeshua benin Yeshua. He saw that Yeshua was also a honor. Think as if the same thing that he had, Yeshua also had. An benosusei de Yeshua. So what does that mean? And that's like we said at the beginning of the class. Yeshua was very happy to be called a nar. And there are even certain Sfarim, what they point out, that when the Pasuk says about him that he was a nar, he must have been who knows what heck, or he must have been well advanced in years. And yet nonetheless, the Pasuk calls him nar. In last week's parasha, is a simon that Yeshua was happy to be completely bottled to Moshe Rabbeinu and utterly overlook his own personality in the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he was unbelievably great, because Moshe Rabbeinu saw him to be the only one who would actually lead into it. And if Yeshua was incomparably less than Moshe Rabbeinu in a way, but he was the one who took Yidden into Eretz Yisrael. He was the one who fought all the 31 kings. I mean, all the work fell to Yeshua. The unbelievable actual settlement of Eretz Yisrael fell into the hands of Yeshua. And that's a tremendous thing, unbelievable task. And therefore, that's why the Mashur understands that the Busha and the Klima wasn't in Yeshua, and not in Moshe Rabbeinu, but the Busha and the Klima was for those who didn't have that type of greatness. Anyway, whatever, but Yeshua had Moshe Rabbeinu, he had this Indian of Anova. And if Moshe Rabbeinu saw that he had to pray for him, b'miyuchad, not for all the others, because somebody who's got that Indian of Anova, he will individualize himself. He will bring out his individual koiches, but he will still remain makusha with Moshe Rabbeinu, and he won't. And as we see, that one of the inyanim of a emissar ono, somebody who's a real humble person, is that he goes with a pashtas. You tell him to do something, and you say, this is the kavanah, and this is what has to be done. He does it with a shleimus. There's an old saying by the Chassidim, to be a big London and to have a lot of tremendous seichel, well, that sometimes is malim on the koich of Mesiras Nefesh. If you have a lot of seichel and you have a lot of pupils and all sorts of inyanim, sometimes when it comes to have to do something very straightforward, but it's a Mesiras Nefesh zach, sometimes those are maybe not the people who jump first, even though they're very learned. And Davki, somebody who is an anvasan, he's humble and modest and self-effaced. Yeah, but Tachlis, he said, listen guys, this is what we're going to do now. He's the first one there. And he will do it. And if Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for him, Yeshua, because he had, on the one hand, he had the mile of moving into the individual line. He was the moon now, like Avi the sun. Or on the other hand, he was basically very similar to Moshe. Therefore Moshe knew that he could trust him, that he wouldn't, and he would have that effect on the others. And if he prayed, but unfortunately he didn't have the koyach to be mashpia on the others, because they got carried away with this idea of their own individuality, and therefore they came up with all sorts of ideas which were too individual, to use the expression. And therefore, if we look carefully, the derech Chabad and B'derech Hasidus Chabad, in the Likutei Torah, in the first two main Maimorim in the Parsha, where the Alter Rebbe points out that the Meraglim, even though nobody really called them Meraglim, as we said, that the Meraglim were from very high madrigas. They were from what's called Olam HaMachshava, the Alter Rebbe says. They were from the world of what you might call thought. And even higher than that, they were from Olam HaBina, or Bina and Machshava, and Pnimis of Avakesha. And therefore, they said, listen, we got tremendous inyonim, but the way we can offer the world is that we want to be ivory tower sort of people. We want to reach our fulfillment and our perfection, and if we have to do with all this Indian of Eretz soil and conquering and setting up land and looking after peoples and the whole thing, it's going to take away from our individual ability to reach our Shorosh HaNeshama Be'emes and to be Megala, what we can really give to the world. That if it'll be it will be inheritance. Our generations write all our Sfarim, even Sfarim that they don't manage to write. The generations afterwards will publish their Sfarim, and people learn all their greatness, and that's it. They will bring greatness to the world, in a way of keeping away from the world. Who says we have to run out and butter our cup? And there were many such people. By Yidden, you know the famous story of the Toilers. He was the great one at the Baal Shem Tov, was Mekarev right near the beginning, and he was one of what they call the Prushim. You ever heard of the Prushim? That means the separated ones. That they lived in a world of separation. They didn't want to do with anybody, and they sat the whole day and learned. They fasted a lot, and they didn't even talk with people, but the whole big group of, they belonged basically to the Misnagdim, but they were called Prushim. And they used to have what's called a priest's stibble. They used to have each one of them at his own little sort of corner or basement, with a curtain hanging it over Shabbat of them, and they would just sit inside in their tefillin, and they would learn the whole day and fast, and they'd learn, and you fellas don't know about the whole Manasseh with the Prushim and the precious Stibla with the whole thing. So the Baal Shem Tov came looking for the Torahs, and he found him in his precious Stibla. Yeah. And he wouldn't talk with him. He wouldn't talk with the Baal Shem Tov. He wouldn't talk with him. And the Baal Shem Tov tried to get him in a conversation. He would go, and he would just say, And so the Baal Shem Tov said to him, listen man, you're taking away Hashem's panosa. You're taking away Hashem's panosa. So, he said, man. But then all of a sudden, when was man taking away Hashem's panosa? What on earth is that? And his mind was racing inside. Well, so the Baal Shem Tov moved a few yards to the side and waited for it to click. So in the end he said, wait a minute, wasn't going to take away Hashem's panosa? That sort of, that he called it, bored into his brain, this Indian of taking away Hashem's panosa. So in the end he sort of popped his head outside the curtain of the priest's stibble, and he said, what on earth did you mean with that? How dare you say a thing like that to me? So the Baal Shem Tov explained to him that the whole Indian of the Avisha wants that we have to come down into the world, and we have to change the world, we have to bring Gilead Lakus into the world, and we have to pray for Yidden, we have to pray for the simple people, we have to help them. They're the Kalim also the world. He told him all in. So he said, yeah, but of course his mind started working on that. The Baal Shem Tov's words crept into his mind, and eventually he became a chassid to the Baal Shem Tov. Yeah. And he left the priest's stibble. Yeah, he wrote a very amazing work. He wrote a very amazing statement. He was an amazing leader and an amazing Goan, but he didn't sit in a priest's stibble anymore. But he spread the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, and it took him quite a time to accept everything the Baal Shem Tov told him, but eventually he was able to. So we see that the Meraglim and that priest's stibble, they get together. That the Meraglim, there was sort of great students and unbelievable Talmidim, that they would have preferred a precious tivul, they would prefer a quiet life, without the whole, of rushing around and trying to make a dir of a taktonim. It could be there, he said he needs a dir of a taktonim. Somebody else, yes. I can't be expected to do everything. I'll write a lot of Torah and then my generations will read it and it'll gradually get out. And if the Baal Shem Tov was mechadish to this Toilus Yaakov Yosef, he was mechadish to him that you're going to make a dir of Taktonim. Like the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Mem Aleph, that Al Yoyte Adam Esatzmei Mina Aklal, you mustn't take yourself out from the klal. That when the Abish said he wants a dir of a Taktonim, he meant you. Look up in Perek Mem Aleph, you'll see it. He meant you, not he meant the other guy. Because a person can often say, the Abish wants this, the Abish wants that. Well, not necessarily me. It's like in the old days by Farbrengen, when all of a sudden the Rebbe would look at somebody, everybody used to turn the other way. Everybody thought that the Rebbe sure was looking at him, the Rebbe must be looking. So all heads would turn towards somebody else, until somebody would eventually wake up that the Rebbe was actually looking. That happened to me once. It was quite an unbelievably disarming situation to realize that the Rebbe was actually looking at you. But anyway,
can you tell us the story when the Rebbe was looking at you? Can you tell us the story?
I'll tell you the story. Tom, I had to write it down in your notebook, and at a close and future opportunity, we'll try to tell the story. People tend to say, oh yes, dir b'taktonim, ein ochanami, zeh nachon, emes, everybody, particularly for our neshamas are very high, that we're going to take care of all the high things. Who's going to do this? Not us. That's the Marag. And if they didn't want the Olam HaMayis, and they said, what do you want from us? We don't want to be bottled to Moshe Rabbeinu the whole time. I mean, he's obviously much greater than we are. We're prepared to listen to him. But we need to be, as it were, individuals. We need to bring out our own greatness, to offer our own contribution to the ultimate development of Torah and mitzvahs. That if Moshe Rabbeinu felt that they had a right point in that, or he hoped that nonetheless it would go good, and therefore he prayed for Yeshua, and Kolev prayed for himself, which is an interesting Indian. It's not the place to get involved in right here. But unfortunately, Yeshua's influence wasn't as massive, neither was Kolev, and unfortunately the whole thing ran out of hand in a terrible way, and the Meraglim got to the point where they mamish made war against the ultimate kavanah of Moshe Rabbeinu. So from that we see that you've got to be careful that once you start getting involved in thinking that maybe Moshe Rabbeinu didn't really say that, or he didn't really maybe mean that, or he didn't really, but he did, but he didn't, it's not clear, and you say maybe we can do it our way. God forbid, you can maybe fall heavily. Hashem should guard us. And if I come to Eslafisa, that ultimately the answer is that with your individuality you've got to go back to Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, Korach had a point, and so did the Meraglim. They had a point that there's a inyan for everybody to serve Hashem according to Shorish Nishmosei and according to the powers that Hashem gave him. And he doesn't have to be inside Moshe Rabbeinu and Cholul in his light altogether. He's got to reveal his individual koiches and put his own inyan into the world. However, we can say that the inyan of Gilui Pnimis HaTorah at the end of all the generations, when I say all the generations, getting towards the end of from the Arizal and further, well, that took the world back in a way to the old state, but with the new shleimus that had in the meantime come into the world, which was the original hope of Moshe Rabbeinu. Dainu, Eino Chanami, everybody has to serve according to their own individual greatness and their own individual Shoresh HaNeshama. But at the same time, that you're giving your own special individual inyan, you've got to be batel b'tachlis habitul to Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, it's got to be both inyanim. There's got to be the unbelievable koyach of you as an individual, but at the same time you've got to go back to the how do you call it? Pnei Moshe ke Pnei Chamo. You've got to be involved in the all-enveloping light. And it could be that you'll have people which are close to Yehoshua ben Nun and others, and they'll help you along, and they're also very great people. They're also like the moon, and they've got a lot to give, unbelievably, and so on. But ultimately, everybody's got to find his way back to Moshe Rabbeinu after he's been born out, as it were, into his own individual greatness. And that was the message of the Baal Shem Tov, that there has to be a Rebbe. It's got to be a Rebbe. And by some of the great citizens, apart from Lubavitch, it became very real, and a lot of people felt that that's it. If you got a Rebbe, then, Tzadik be'emunasei yichye, al tichrei yichye ela chaye, that the Tzadik will look after you, and he'll give you everything, and he'll, as it were, bear your responsibility. Comes along Lubavitch, and Lubavitch takes the whole thing back to a new perfection. It unites both of the inyanim together. Aleph, that there has to be the individual. At base, the individual has to be bottled and nichlal in Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's the whole inyan. That's an unbelievable trick. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu saw was a slightly dangerous and tricky game, that you let a person out on a, how do you call it, on a lulu, how do you call it, a yo-yo, you let him out and you give him his own individual grace, and you demand that of him, and at the same time you want to hold him on that string, that he's also makusha to you, and he knows that sof kol sof, your kavana is the ikar kavana. But that's a very difficult game. It's a difficult game for the Rebbe, for Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a difficult game for the one who's, to use the expression without any disrespect to any of us, yo-yo. We've got to be makusha with Moshe Rabbeinu, despite the fact that we're spinning out there on our own orbit, as it might be said, that we've got to give our own. If you look at the first Farbrengen that the Rebbe made in Toshin, Yudalev, and you look at the famous policy statement, well, that's exactly what's written there. That the Rebbe said, Yidden, he said, I am prepared to help. He said, but I want you people who have also got to do your part. Now look carefully, and you'll see. And the Rebbe said, that is the emes hashita of Lubavitch, that there's got to be the Ur HaChamon, and that the Ur HaChamon is a general Ur, and that nothing has any Ur like Abizeh. But there's also got to be the mile of Yehoshua. There's got to be the war makers and the soldiers, and that they've got to be out there, and they've got to have their own credit. The Rebbe once said that a chassid has to make his own decision, and the Eibush will help him, that it'll be matim to the decision of the Rebbe and to the decision of the Eibush. But he's got to have the power to make his own decision. I'm a very sincere, not all that many years ago, the Rebbe said it. That you've got to have the ability to be an individual out there, but at the same time find your kesher and be batel b'tachlis habitul. That if I was Lubavitch unites the two inyanim together, it brings the two inyanim b'tachlis hashleima. And if Lubavitch doesn't say that you just have to sit around and wait for Nissim. Well, you don't just sit around and wait for the Rebbe to throw you a nest or something. You've got to get moving. But if you do get moving, then you will see in Yonim completely and utterly l'mayla me'atevela l'gamre. And if it's put down in Sforim HaKadoshim that emunah is not just the emunah to believe that the Eibush runs everything, everything's from the Eibush. Ashgacha prati is not just to believe that the Eibush, but to live that, and every minute and every second to know that everything that is occurring is all Hashem. And that if you just believe in that and you give yourself away to that, then things will just, even though they may cause you tsar, it's only because you're not realizing what really is hidden in the cancer thing that's happening to you right now. But if you're like Yeshua, and you're an emes hanar, and you're an emes hachosid, at the same time as being an individual, then you'll see sof kosof unbelievable hashgacha pratis, and what looked to you to be a tzara. It looked to you to be a terrible thing, and inside that you'll see that there was hidden unbelievable kavanas from the Eibush, and you'll see it with your eye. And the Friedrich Rebbe said that the greatness of hashgacha pratis is you see mamish the Eibush. Who runs hashgacha pratis? Only the Eibush. I feel not chokhmah da'atzila. As mamish hashgacha pratis does it the Eibush himself. And the come to us that we have to see the world, and we have to see what's happening to us every day in life. That's Hashem talking to us. It's not Hashem doing things to us. Hashem is showing you, call in you, what happens. He's talking to you. And he says, give a koch avtus, you see this, you see this, every little thing that happens to you. B'kol dover shekoreh. It's like an immense dialogue with the Eibishter. And you can only come to that feeling if you connect it with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu puts that, and he gives you, with his unbelievable light, he gives you that ability to live that way. And therefore you're not mispoiled from what appear to be almost impossible odds. Things might seem to be everything against you, but if you just go with a knowledge that that's all part of your particular fight, or your particular inyan, that you've got to put in koiches, but every second will be the Eibishter assisting you. And that's an unbelievable idea, and that's what was lacking by the Meraglim. They felt an individual contribution was to put in your inyan and to live it your way, in a way that it'll be a divine thing and a nice thing and a holy thing. But not to be botel and to have no metzias whatsoever. And if you want to know what to do with that metzias, you got to ask Moshe Rabbeinu, and what's he going to say? Yeah, do kach for kach, but you have to do it with your powers. I'm not going to do it for you. You're going to have to do it, but I will be there to help you. And that's what the Rebbe said. That's B'diuk what he said. And if you have to realize that that's the message of the Meraglim. That on the one hand, there's an atzas of Meraglim. They're great people, but there's hidden like a sort of an idea inside. It's basically a good idea. They were tzaddikim. They were very high people. It's basically a right idea. That every yid is in takir, an unbelievable. You know the famous story of the Rebbe Marash. He wants a big diamond dealer. He was a chassid. We had the guys, and I've forgotten his name. I can't remember names lately. It's on the tip of my name. On the tip of my tongue.
Where was he from?
He was a diamond dealer at the time of the Rebbe Marash.
Monason?
Huh?
Monason?
Yeah. Yofi, Monason. Yefeh. Yeah, Monason. Very good for you, dog. So he once came to the Rebbe. He had a brother. There was Monya and there was a second one. And he once came to the Rebbe Marash to ask the Rebbe Marash's bracha in a certain deal that he was going to do with diamonds. And the very fascinating thing about him, this Monya Monyason, is that he used to daven and everything. He was only ready to start business at about 1 or 2 o'clock on the day. Well, sure, that's when all the businesses have already been going for hours. And they're looking for the afternoon break. They're closing their shops, so they're going away. You had to drink coffee or and Halavai, they should come back and open their shops. That's when he started doing business, about 2 o'clock by day. But by the time he finishes his davening and he's learning siddhas, a whole big story about him. Anyway, suffice to say, he asked the Rebbe for a bracha. That in some deal that he was hoping for a big deal in diamond. So the Rebbe said to him, the Rebbe Marash said, could you show me the diamonds? I'd just like to see them, before I give you a bracha, I'd like to see what are you dealing with. So, he sort of smiled and said, well, look over, you really need to understand. And he never said that openly, but he sort of rather, sort of smilingly gave the diamonds to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe looked at them, and the Rebbe said, yeah, they're not bad. So he couldn't resist it, and he said, Rebbe, he said, mit sein amazing of brillanten. In Yiddish, diamonds are called brillanten. He said, you need to be a maven. So the Shabbos before, there'd been a whole group of these simple Yidden that had been there. I told you, they used to come to the Rebbe Marash. And the Rebbe Marash was very makarav with them, and he had a whole group of them, and he stopped to speak with them, and a whole in him. And the Chassidim were jealous, they said they barely get a word out of the Rebbe, they barely attach. And here's all these Pashto Yidden, and they get all these kiruvim from the Rebbe, and it was very nice to them all. So the Chassidim were a little bit sort of jealous. And this Monyason, he was one of them. He couldn't sort of get a bit of kasha. Why should the Rebbe give all his time to these, very Pashto men? So the Rebbe said, he said to the Rebbe, you have to be a maven of brillianten. So the Rebbe Marash looked at him and he said, yes, you're right. He said, you have to be a maven of brillianten. So he said to him, du bist a maven of die brillianten. So ich bin a maven of meine brillianten. He said, you're a maven on these diamonds. He said, I'm a maven on my diamonds. And when he heard that, he wanted the floor should swallow him up. And so he said, thank you, Rebbe. And he was just hoping that the Rebbe wouldn't be so angry with him that he wouldn't give him a bracha for the deal. In the end, the Rebbe gave him a bracha for the deal as well. And he rather shamefacedly, he left the room. But if you got to be a maven of the emes of brillianten. So you got to be a brilliant. You've got to be a diamond. You've got to have your own light. You've got to have your own dust. But you've got to realize that there's a bigger maven in brillianten, and an emes of maven, and an emes of light that puts all the brillianten, puts them into shame. And that's the union of the Rebbe. But you got to take your own individual koach and link it, and be completely batel. To the Rebbe, and you got to know maximum you can be something like a little moon compared to the sun. Pnei Levana, and the klima is like the Mashal says, not in the Etzeminian. The klima is for those who don't have that, and they don't realize, and that's the way that one should function. And therefore, even though you have to do with the world, but derech hateva, you can still see in everything. If you link yourself up with the Rebbe and you're bottled to the emes kavana of the Rebbe, you see in Yonim L'mayla L'gamri Mederech HaTeva, and you see how everything sort of fits into this amazing gilui of like the Eivsh talking to us and showing us and pointing to us and saying, that's what the Rebbe said, Hine Moshiach Ba. When you say Hine, that you're pointing at a thing which is in front of you. Hine Moshiach Ba. You can see it unfolding in front of you. You begin to chap the whole way in which it's going, and it's all like the Eivsh talking to us and bringing us a new, unbelievable vision into the coming of Moshiach. And if I open your eyes, that's what the Rebbe said. Open your eyes. If you just look carefully at what's going on, and you're carefully in a way that you link your own individual ability to see things back to the absolute bittul to Moshe Rabbeinu, two of them together, both the Inyanim together, then you see things in a completely different way. And the Rebbe says to you, listen here, open up your eyes and you'll see that Hine Moshiach, in Yiddish the expression is ot kommt Moshiach. It was a very unusual lesson. In Yiddish the word ot means, there it is. Say ot in Yiddish. But if that's where we're holding right now, guys. And if one of the shittas says that the Meraglim is the Indian was B'derech HaTeva, the Rebbe also brings it down. But they said, listen, we're going to handle this thing B'derech HaTeva. We're going to handle it completely miraculously. We've got a country full of people over there. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to him, handle it B'derech HaTeva, but you got to realize that sof kosof, it's all got to be L'mayla Me'ateva. You can start off al Derech HaTeva, but if you just get lost in Teva, then what does the word Teva come from? It comes from the word to drown, Rachman in it. Tu bu biyam, so Pari and his old that were drowned in the Yam Su. The word to drown is Teva. The word Tava, tu bu. That's the word Teva. You can drown in Teva. You can look at it and think, oh, this is great, but you can get drowned. Rachman in it like. But if even though Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ein Lachanami, do it b'derech HaTeva, but you got to do it our way, and you got to do it my way, and you got to do it the way that Yeshua is going to tell you. And I'm praying especially for Yeshua, that you guys should listen to him. And Yeshua was how he called Moshe Rabbeinu's emissary, Chassid, and that was his unbelievable Atzlacha and everything that happened afterwards. So therefore, guys, we've got to realize that we're pressing ahead, but we're pressing tremendously speedily towards the Geula. Called Rega. We mustn't, sort of cool off and say, We have to realize that is in effect the message of the Rebbe, and by being connected with that and knowing that that's the ultimate purpose, that we'll see things, things will just open up and build a Shum Sofi. The take of Miyad, we won't just have to see how Hashgacha Proteus talks to us, but we'll hear, literally, we'll hear the Rebbe talking to us, and we'll hear the Eibishter talking to us, like the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, that Leosid Love is going to be like Matan Torah, Kolshkein, and that the Matan Torah, the four directions, and the Bab, and everything spoke to the Eden. They heard the Aseret Adibris from all the possible sides of the creation. So if it was like that with Matan Torah, how much more so? Take him miyad, Vizgalas, Melech HaMashiach, that will hear the voice of the Eibishter, and he'll be saying that Hine, Elokeinu Zeh. That this is the Eibishter. That's well known that there, some of you point at, and all the little children and the grown-ups, and all the adults will be pointing, and they'll say, Hine Elokeinu Zeh. So, have a good evening, have a good Shabbos. So you're going to have to take care of it.
Mashiach le'elam vayed. Yehi Adonai Moreinu v'Rabbeinu Melech 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 Mashiach le'elam vayed. Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai.